The day Shan Siwei discovered she was pregnant, she slapped me in the face with divorce papers. Jiang Mian, let's get divorced. We're not a good match. I was kicked out of the Shun family home like a dog, drowning in debt overnight. Debt collectors forced me to sell my organs. In the end, I bled to death. Meanwhile, Shan Siwei was a blissful newlywed, whispering sweet nothings with her old flame. I was reborn into the third year of my secret marriage with Shan Siwei. This time, I would turn the tables. The violent debt collectors had found an unlicensed quack who, without any anesthesia, tore out my liver and kidney. I lost too much blood and blacked out. When I woke again, I didn't see the black and white reapers I'd expected, ready to lead me across the bridge of oblivion. Instead, I was in the marital bedroom I shared with Shan Siwei. I realized I'd been reborn. It had to be the third year of my secret marriage with Shan Siwei, and today was the day she'd gone for a hospital checkup. In my previous life, it was also on this day that Shan Siwei returned from her checkup, radiant, holding a positive pregnancy report. Before I even had a chance to feel happy, she pulled divorce papers from her bag and, in front of the entire Shun family, threw them in my face. She'd said, "I'm pregnant, Zhong Mian. Let's get divorced. We're not a good match." That very night, I was thrown out of the Shun family home. Overnight, I went from being the Shun family's celebrated live-in son-in-law to a debt-ridden outcast. After 3 years of secret marriage with Shan Siwei, I ended up dying after debt collectors forcibly took my kidney and liver while Shan Siwei and her beloved Qian Huayu threw a lavish wedding. Fortunately, I was reborn. In this life, I would never let Shan Siwei trample over me like that again. Everything I lost in my past life, I would reclaim in this one every last bit. I pulled my thoughts back to the present, stretched, and felt a dull ache all over my body. Just then, the butler came in carrying ginseng soup, his face beaming. "Young master, the young miss is pregnant. Hurry downstairs and see." For 3 years, as the Shun family's live-in son-in-law, everyone in the household, from top to bottom, had treated me with utmost respect. My father-in-law even invested $10 million in my biotech company on the very day we registered our marriage and gifted us the most expensive villa in Rongjing as our marital home. No matter how my parents tried to stop me from becoming a live-in son-in-law, I was dead set on marrying Shan Siwei. For 3 years after our marriage, we were a loving couple living in perfect harmony. Shan Siwei said she wanted us to have a child. For these 3 years, to prepare for pregnancy, I hadn't touched a drop of alcohol. I went to bed early, woke up early, and worked out diligently, all so she could conceive a healthy baby. The past was too painful to recall. I finished the soup and went downstairs in my slippers. Everyone in the Shun family was in the living room, gathered around Shan Siwei, chatting and laughing merrily. When she saw me, Shan Siwei's gaze turned cold. "You're so frail. Just a little rain, and you get a fever." Last night, it was raining when I went to pick Shan Siwei up from her company. I only had one umbrella, and I held it entirely over her. The strong wind on the way, plus my wet clothes, made me catch a fever by midnight. In the past, she would have said, "Hubby, are you feeling awful? Should we see a doctor?" But now, she couldn't seem to stand the sight of me. I changed the subject. "The butler said you're pregnant." Shan Siwei looked displeased. Touching her stomach, she said, "Yes, just a month along." I sat beside her without saying anything. She glanced at me and finally spoke, "Jiang Mian, let's get divorced." It was the same scenario as in my previous life. Expected. This time, I didn't feel much sadness. Is it because of Qin Huayu? I deliberately mentioned her old flame. She immediately denied it. "No, we just don't have anything in common to talk about." True, we really didn't have much common ground. She studied art and was in performing arts while I was in biotech and healthcare. Our fields were worlds apart. Fine, I respect your choice. Let's discuss the divorce settlement. Shan Siwei looked incredulous. She probably thought my pride was too strong that I wouldn't ask for a sin in compensation. Unfortunately for her, she was wrong. After experiencing the Shan family's betrayal in my previous life, I had long since left our feelings in the past. Shan Siwei stared at me for a long moment, then said with great disappointment, "Jiang Mian, you've changed. You weren't like this before." I wasn't the only one who'd changed. Shin Sai-yu and I were both top students at Rongshing University, meeting at our senior graduation gala. She was a dancer on stage. I was the outstanding graduate representative giving a speech. Back then, my biotech company had just been registered and was still in its infancy. In the audience among the business leaders was Shun Siue's father, a roaming real estate tycoon. He saw potential in my company, praised me for being the province's top scholar, intelligent and good-looking, and wanted to invest. Through her father's encouragement, Shun Siue and I began to see each other more frequently. My parents were working class. Compared to Shun Siue's family, a massive conglomerate, we were hardly social equals. Faced with Shun Siue's affection, I felt both incredibly flattered and utterly lost. My parents vehemently opposed me marrying into the Shun family, but Shun Siue insisted, love conquers all. I was determined to marry in, and the Shuns, with a wave of their hand, gifted us luxury cars and mansions. Although we kept our marriage a secret publicly, my rising star was common knowledge in business circles. Everyone lauded me as Boss Shun's prized son-in-law, and the Shun family was already pushing us to have child. It wasn't until the Shuns played me, kicking me out their gates like a stray dog, that I realized their meticulous scheming was all for one purpose, to use me to father their child. Everything I had done before to make Shin Siu happy now seemed like a pathetic joke. No matter how I laid my heart bare for her, it couldn't compare to the slightest romantic gesture from Chin Huayu. I didn't refute Shun Siue's version of events. I admitted it. I had changed. I'd learned to face reality, no longer blinded by infatuation. I scrutinized every clause in the divorce agreement, terrified the Shuns would set another trap for me. Here, I said, add another clause. The 10 million provided at the time was an investment. Projects carry risks. Investments require caution. Even if it fails, you can't hold me liable for the debt. Shun Siwei watched intently as I marked up the agreement. Her concentration mirrored the seriousness with which I used to present the company's financial reports to her. This part is wrong, too. I continued. The house and cars gifted at our wedding are all in your name, so the marital assets need to be redivided. And this, if the child is born safely, I propose we handle visitation rights through legal channels. That would be more equitable for both of us. I made numerous changes to the agreement. Shin Siue raised no objections. After it was reprinted, we both signed the divorce papers. Like me, she was anxious to finalize things, fearing any delay might lead to complications. 3 years of a secret marriage, and I was finally free. The ink on our divorce papers was barely dry when Shin Siwe eagerly began planning her wedding to Chin Huayu. The marriage alliance between a real estate magnate and a prestigious scholarly family sent shockwaves through all of Rongshing. She, an elegant dancer. He, a celebrity with massive online traction, a talented man and a beautiful woman, a match seemingly made in heaven. Chin Huayu, behind Shin Siwe's back, sent me an invitation to their wedding, requesting my presence and blessings in person. With a clear conscience, what did I have to fear? Why wouldn't I go? On the wedding day, I too was impeccably dressed in a suit, having taken great care with my appearance. I handed my meticulously prepared red envelope to the attendant managing the gift registry. When opened, it revealed 666 yuan, amidst gifts that typically ran into tens of thousands. Mine was both strikingly conspicuous and embarrassingly meager. The person with the registry book asked, "May I have your name, esteemed guest? Are you a friend or relative of the bride or the groom?" I cleared my throat and raised my voice. "Oh, write down Jiang Mion. I'm the bride Shun Siu's ex-husband and the groom Chin Huayu's junior from university." A hush fell over the hall, quickly followed by a flurry of whispers. Since Chin Huayu clearly thought I lacked the courage to show up, I was determined to come and make their day thoroughly uncomfortable. "What's going on? I've never heard of the Shun family having a son-in-law before, have you? And a live-in one at that." I heard MS. Shun conceived through a sperm donor. Any truth to that? I wonder. Nonsense. Why would the illustrious Shun family need Jiang Mion for that? For his looks? Possibly. More likely, they were after superior genes, haha. She'll quiet down. It'll be bad if Chin Huayu overhears. A sperm donor? Are they implying Chin Huayu isn't smart enough, or perhaps not handsome enough? Best to just keep quiet and see how this plays out. The guests buzzed with excited gossip, each one eager to contribute. The bridal couple, hearing the crowd chatter, stood rooted to the spot in awkward silence. I went to the restroom, and Shen Xiu followed me in, furious. Jiang Mayang, what exactly are you playing at? Looking at my reflection as I wiped my face, I replied with utmost sincerity, I'm playing at offering my heartfelt blessings. Isn't my gift of 666 you want a way of complimenting you both? Shen Xiu's face flushed crimson. She stepped closer, her voice sharp. Jiang Mian, I know you're bitter about the divorce, but rest assured, my Shen family won't treat you unfairly. The money will be in your account in a few days. Excellent. I shall eagerly await the good news. I turned to leave, but she spoke again. Jiang Mian, I know you were good to me, but who are you is the one I truly love. You'll find your own happiness too, eventually. I scoffed inwardly. Typical sanctimonious hypocrite. Use someone up, then tell them they deserve better. My happiness? That died before my rebirth. All I want now is to hold tight to what is rightfully mine. When Qin Huayu saw Shen Xiu emerge from the restroom after me, his face clouded over. He grabbed her hand so hard she gasped in pain. Why are we doing? You're hurting me. Xiu, you promised you wouldn't see him again. This is our wedding. If people see this, how can I possibly show my face? I made a quick exit, having no desire to watch that scumbag and his bitch tear each other apart. Moments later, I heard the sharp crack of a slap. Shen Xiu's spoiled brat temper must have erupted. Qin Huayu had probably been on the receiving end. The wedding reception wasn't even over when I received a call from my company's finance department. Mr. Jiang, the Shen family has pulled their 10 million yuan investment. Mr. Jiang, the Shen family has pulled their 10 million yuan investment, just as I've foreseen. Even with this second chance, the Shen family had ditched me without a moment's hesitation. Luckily, I was prepared this time. Their sudden withdrawal wouldn't bury me in debt. Mr. Jiang, are you still there? The Shens have withdrawn their funds, and several other investors are indicating they might do the same. What's our next move? I'm heading back to the office immediately. Don't worry about the capital. I have other plans. Before the Shen family pulled their investment, I had already secured $10 million through angel funding, so their withdrawal didn't leave too big a gap. Right now, with the high transmission rate of the winter flu virus, targeted medication is crucial. There's huge demand for virus testing kits, and prices are generally high. The earlier you get in, the higher the return. The angel investors saw this potential, and combined with our company's already decent product performance and strong recommendations through my alma mater's network, the company was progressing steadily. There's no such thing as a secret that stays hidden forever. When Shen Xiu transferred the 20 million divorce settlement into my private account, the story of how the Shen family used me to father and heir and then kicked me out shot to the top of the trending charts overnight. Bad publicity is still publicity, as they say. I never expected this to bring a ton of fans to our company. Some netizens envied me for getting a hefty 20 million compensation for selling myself for 3 years, while others lamented how a chosen one like me was still trampled by capital. But as the person at the center of it all, I wasn't as bothered by public opinion as you might think. Ultimately, whether you're a minnow or a dragon, it all comes down to your own abilities. After discussing with my other partners, we decided to go with the flow and open up company shares to the public. Many netizens who believed in us actively invested. We briefly weathered the first financial crisis after the Shen family's divestment. Next, our product's market share will determine our company's future direction and survival. I poured all my energy into product R&D, completely forgetting to keep tabs on Shen Xiu. It wasn't until Shen Xiu called that I learned the Shen family was mired in a public opinion crisis. Their stock had plummeted, and in their desperation, they contacted me to hold a joint press conference to clear things up. I refused point blank. Shen Xiu then used our child to threaten me. Jiang Mian, after more than 3 years together, you're just going to walk away? I don't believe your feelings for our child and me, we're fake. The Shen family was desperate for a male heir. When Shan Siwe was 3 months pregnant, they confirmed it was a boy through both genetic testing and an ultrasound, a double guarantee. Only then did they ruthlessly begin to dismantle all my authority within their companies. When I didn't answer, Shan Siwe grew anxious. Jiang Mian, if you agree to clarify the facts about our divorce, I can personally invest more capital into your company. Jiang Mian, if you agree to clarify the facts about our divorce, I can personally invest more capital into your company. The company was in its growth phase. Who would turn down money? At the press conference, a reporter's question was blunt. Ms. Shen, was your marriage to Mr. Jiang truly a contractual one? Shin Saiwa nudged my arm. I forced a smile and replied, those are just rumors. Ms. Shen and I'm married out of love. Now, due to differing career paths and relationship issues, we've divorced amicably. There are no other reasons. Ms. Shen, was your marriage to Mr. Jiang truly a contractual one? Those are just rumors. Ms. Shen and I'm married out of love. Now, due to differing career paths and relationship issues, we've divorced amicably. There are no other reasons. The media wasn't ready to give up. Then, regarding the Shen family using you to father their child, Mr. Jiang, do you have anything to say? The Shen family had no need for such measures. Besides, Ms. Shen and I have a child together. I hope everyone can be a bit more considerate with their words. Although my answers at the press conference were a rambling, unfocused mess, the chapter on how the Shen family discards the donkey once the milling is done was finally turned. When it ended, Qin Huayu was waiting for Shan Siwe with a car and thoughtfully draped a coat over her shoulders. Shan Siwe smiled radiantly. In our 3 years of marriage, she had never smiled like that. I'd always thought she was just one of those cool, aloof beauties who didn't smile much. It turned out she genuinely wasn't happy with me. How ridiculous that it took me dying once, a harsh awakening, to see it clearly. It must have been exhausting for her, faking it for so many years. Seeing me, Qin Huayu deliberately came over. Jiang Mian, I hope you know your place and stay away from Siwe. Jiang Mian, I hope you know your place and stay away from Siwe. I wouldn't have thought Qin Huayu, grandson of Rongqing's great scholar, would also stoop to playing the other man to angle for fame and profit. How are you any different from me? At least Shen Siwe and I have a child together. My last sentence clearly infuriated Qin Huayu. I normally wouldn't stoop to such pettiness, but since he came looking for a confrontation, I saw no reason to just take it. Shen Siwe's sweet voice called out, Huayu, let's go. It had been half a year since the divorce. To be honest, I hadn't completely let go of my feelings for Shen Siwe. After all, for 3 years, the emotions I invested were real. Everything was going quite smoothly on my end. In the blink of an eye, it was almost Chinese New Year's Eve when suddenly the COVID-19 virus erupted. The mere mention of COVID sent shivers down everyone's spine, and the entire city went into an almost complete lockdown. Qin Huayu's career faced severe limitations. He could only resort to live streaming from home. For an influencer celebrity like him, constant public appearances were the unspoken rule to maintain his fame. After marrying Shen Siwe, Qin Huayu moved into the Shen family's mansion. All his expenses covered by them. Boss Shen was admitted to the ICU with white lung, a severe form of pneumonia caused by the virus, and consequently, control over the Shen family's businesses was almost entirely handed over to Shen Siwe. It was precisely at this moment that Qin Huayu seized his chance, persuading Shen Siwe to let him get involved in the company's operations. Truth be told, many companies were struggling financially during the pandemic. Qin Huayu knew nothing about business, but because he was adept at pleasing Shen Siwe, the other shareholders could only swallow their anger and dared not voice their objections. During this period, our company's R&D and production teams seized the opportunity. We ramped up the R&D and production of both test kits and ECMO machines, propelling our company to become a leading enterprise in Rongqing. When Shen Siwe contacted me again, it was because Boss Shen's condition had become critical and she wanted to buy the best ECMO machine to support his treatment. I'm a businessman, after all. There was no sense in refusing business that came knocking. Seeing me, tears streamed down Shen Siyu's face, a truly heartbreaking sight. She was heavily pregnant, nearly full term, yet she was running herself ragged for her father while the company's profits plummeted. It was clear she was completely overwhelmed. Muin, she began, I heard from some of the company veterans that your company has the most advanced ECMO, extracorporeal membrane oxygenation machines. I want to buy one for my father's personal use. I sipped my tea without a word. Although Shan Siwe had wronged me terribly, to be fair, BA Shun had given me considerable support during my company startup phase. Moreover, my current success was largely built on the resources I secured early on by leveraging my status as the Shun family's prestigious son-in-law. By all accounts, both emotionally and rationally, I should help. Seeing my silence, Shun Siwe grew anxious. I know what I did, kicking you out of the Shun family, was despicable of me, but now a life is at stake. Can you please help me? So, she didn't know that a life on the line was a serious matter. In my previous life, when I was drowning in debt, she had hired violent debt collectors who ultimately drove me to my death. None of this had happened in this current life, so, of course, she wouldn't know. Remembering this, my heart still clenched involuntarily a sharp, familiar ache. Sitting before me was the woman I once loved most, who, with the man she now loved, had conspired to kick me, the biological father of her child, to the curb. Shun, I said, an ECMO machine isn't a miracle cure. If Boss Shun's condition is too severe, it likely won't be of much use. I was just telling her the truth. Even with it, whether he could ever be taken off the machine was a different story. Although the Shun family wasn't short of money, at times like these, money can't always buy life. When Shun Siwe saw I had no intention of cooperating, she actually knelt and begged me. Moved by her filial devotion and pitying her plight, when the newest batch of machines left the factory, I sent one to her first. I had also intended to visit BA Shun and check on his condition. Unexpectedly, at the Shun family mansion, I saw Qin Huayu punching and kicking Shun Siwe. She was heavily pregnant, attacking her like that could have killed them both. I rushed forward, tore Qin Huayu away from her, and kicked him to the ground. Qin Huayu stared at me defiantly. Jian Mian, what right do you have to meddle? Don't forget, the Shun family threw you out long ago. It was true. I really had no standing to protect Shun Siwe. Seeing this, Shun Siwe steadied herself on the railing and got up, wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth. Qin Huayu, you despicable bastard, just wait. You'll be rotting in jail for this. In less than half an hour, the police took Qin Huayu away. I followed the ambulance with Shun Siwe to the hospital. In a hospital bed, Shun Siwe's face was frighteningly pale. Sir, the doctor addressed me. The patient's pregnancy is unstable. She needs bed rest to protect the baby. Please prepare her things and be ready for her to go into labor at any moment. The doctor's words sent a cold sweat down my back. Shun Siwe and I technically had no relationship anymore, but alas, there was still this child between us. Shun Siwe was very weak, clutching my hand and refusing to let go. Mine, she whispered, I was wrong to let someone as good as you go. Qian Huayu, he's nothing but a beast in human clothing. From her tone, I gathered their marriage hadn't been going well. It wasn't until Shan Siwe told me the whole story that I actually found myself thinking this miserable couple truly deserve each other. I felt genuinely glad I got now. After Qian Huayu got involved in the Shun family's company, he repeatedly caused huge losses eventually. The shareholders jointly petitioned to have him kicked out. Shun Siwe was completely overwhelmed. On one hand, Boss Shun was critically ill, and on the other, Qin Huayu was like a vicious wolf that had infiltrated their home. She had someone investigate Qin Huayu and, sure enough, discovered he had colluded with others to short the company's stock and had also embezzled company funds, moving them overseas. Several of the Shun family's companies were now on the brink of collapse when Shun Se, armed with this evidence, decided to take Qin Huayu to court. He found out, and the scene I had witnessed erupted. Shun Siwe had been Boss Shun's pampered princess since she was little, always cherished in the palm of his hand. What had she ever suffered such grievances? When the police came to the hospital to understand the facts and take her statement, Shun Siwe's anger hadn't subsided. She insisted on not settling and was determined to send Qin Huayu to prison. I sighed inwardly. People always choose one path. then think the one not taken would have been easier. But once they actually walk it, there are always trivial dissatisfactions. Even the best relationships, once secured, tend to become ordinary. On the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, when Shun Siua went into labor, Chinyu was out on bail and still under investigation. He stubbornly refused to sign the consent form for her epidural. The Shun family's housekeeper, frantic, called me. No matter what Shun Siua had done, it was still our child. I rushed to the hospital and ended up in another brawl with Chin Huayu right outside her delivery room. The police hauled both Chin Huayu and me to the station, so I missed seeing Shun Siua and our baby when they came out of the delivery room. The housekeeper called to tell me it was a boy. The Shun family finally had an heir. They named him Shun Shiren. After old Master Shun recovered, he threw a lavish banquet and even transferred ownership of a prime commercial building in Rongqing to the baby. When a Shun family learned I'd fought Chin Huayu to ensure Shun Saihua got her epidural, they started treating me with renewed attentiveness. Sometime later, after I'd just closed a deal with a client, Shun Saihua came to see me holding the baby. The pandemic restrictions had recently eased and the city was just emerging from lockdown. The weather was a fickle early spring mix of warmth and lingering chill. The baby was incredibly soft and pink. He had my eyes. But the rest of his features favored Shun Siua. He was chubby and adorable, and looking at him, my heart softened a little. Shun Siua was in the middle of a messy divorce battle with Chin Huayu. Trying to get him locked up was proving more difficult than expected. Worry lines etched her brow, and she lacked the confident, almost defiant air she'd worn when she first initiated the divorce. "Moon," she began, "are you free? Maybe we could get something to eat." I was about to refuse, but the baby was so adorable that I found myself agreeing. Noticing how taken I was with the baby, Shun Siua asked tentatively Mu Yin about his custody, "Would you want it?" I was baffled. She had faked a loving marriage with me for 3 years just to have this child, and she'd gone through so much pain in childbirth. Why on earth would she offer me custody? I suspected the Shun family might be facing some serious trouble, so I asked with genuine concern, "What's happened?" She shook her head, "Nothing like that. It's just, I feel so sorry for him growing up without a father." Before I could fully process her words, she added, "My father's idea is for us to reconcile, to give our son a proper family." So that was her real agenda. I handed the baby to the maternity nurse, then sat up straight, my expression serious as I faced Shin Siu. This woman was undeniably beautiful with an exquisite figure, but her common sense was seriously lacking. I Jung Mayan am not some piece of trash by the roadside that she can pick up and discard whenever she fancies. "Shun Siua," I said, "your divorce isn't even finalized. And here you are, already trying to reconcile with your ex-husband. You certainly don't waste any time, do you?" Shun Siua heard the sarcasm in my voice, but didn't seem fazed. Instead, she smiled. "I know you're a successful man now, Mayan. The man you've become is finally worthy of me." Shun Siua, just as I thought, the woman was heartless. If I was still that penniless nobody from before, even if her relationship with Chin Huayu had completely imploded, she wouldn't have given me a second glance. I stood up. "So, I'm finally worthy of you now, is that it? But what on earth makes you think, Shun Siua, that I would still want you?" Shun Siua played her trump card. "Our son can take your surname. We can call him Jiang Shuri." Shun Shuri, Jiang Shuri, what was the difference? His name would only be a constant, painful reminder of how Shun Siu had used me for 3 years just to have him, then kicked me to the curb the moment she was done. "I don't need that," I said flatly. "His surname can be whatever you want. It makes no difference to me." As I walked away, Shun Siu yelled after me, "Jiangmian, you're truly heartless." The public feud between Shun Siu and Chin Huayu was the talk of Rongqing. Netizens were buzzing, most agreeing I was the good guy, handling the split with such dignity. Goes to show, everyone's different, but Jiang Mian, he's a real man. Made a clean break, no hesitation. Chin Huayu's just a pretty boy. Not like Jiang Mian, who could actually strike out on his own. Glad I backed the right horse with my investment. Jiang Mian's company's stock is still climbing, while the Shun family's is tanking. While netizens lapped up the drama, I kept my head down, focusing on my business with my partners. Sometimes, opportunity is fleeting. If you don't seize it, it's gone for good. Our test kits and ECMO machines were selling well internationally. I had no energy to dwell on being kicked out by the Shun family. On the flight back to the country, I ran into Chin Huayu. He was now a disgraced celebrity, banned from public performances domestically, forced to tour less developed regions abroad just to maintain some visibility. Honestly, during the pandemic, there was no way those performance fees could cover his expenses from constantly being on the move. Jiang Mian, he sneered, no matter how successful you become, you'll never erase the stain of being the Shun family's live-in son-in-law. So what? I replied. Chin Huayu, relentless, tried to provoke me further. You only have a child with Shun Siue? You think she truly loved you? She was cheating on you with me before you even divorced. That, I hadn't expected, but there was no point dwelling on it now. I glanced at my newspaper, then leisurely replied, so what if Shun Siue loved you? She still pulled out all the stops to put you behind bars. At least I'm free now, aren't I? Chin Huayu looked utterly deflated, gasping for breath and anger. He completely lost his composure, cursing loudly right there on the plane. I thought Chin Huayu was just asking for it. We could have had a quiet flight, but he just had to stir up trouble for himself. Who else could he blame? As soon as we deplaned, Chin Huayu was taken away by the police. It looked like they finally had enough evidence to arrest and prosecute him. That was Shun Siue for you, always swift and decisive, just like when we divorced. No messing around. As Chin Huayu was led away, he shot me a resentful look, as if I was the one who'd ruined his supposedly blissful romance. Chin Huayu was pitiful, yes, but also detestable. He brought all of this upon himself. He should have known long ago. Being a stepfather is no easy task. Shun Siue cherished that child so much. For him to dare punch and kick her in the abdomen, Shun Siue having him locked up was already her final act of mercy. Too bad Chin Huayu would never understand. He'd just think this was all my scheme to get revenge on him for breaking up my marriage with Shun Siue? Let him think what he wants. I don't have time for his games. Chin Huayu ultimately ended up in jail in a messy public feud between Shun Siue and Chin Huayu. Shun Siue was the clear winner. The Chin family spent a fortune, but couldn't get Chin Huayu out. No one had expected Shun Siue's all-consuming love affair to end in such an unseemly way. For the child's 100-day celebration, the Shun family planned to host a grand event. Boss Shun had an invitation sent to my company. The receptionist handed it to me with a look that spoke volumes. In less than an hour, all my colleagues knew the Shun family was inviting me to their little boy's 100-day celebration. Whispers circulated that this was the Shun family's signal for our reconciliation. Shun Siue, who had deleted me on WeChat, added me back. Muin, I hope you can come to the child's 100-day celebration. I wouldn't delude myself into thinking Shun Siue actually wanted me back, but as it turned out, that's exactly what she had in mind. As I was holding the child, playfully teasing him, Boss Shun approached with a glass of wine. Muin, my judgment of character has always been sharp. Look at you now, one of Rongqing's top entrepreneurs. Our Siue is a lucky woman. Men as exceptional as you, who also dote on their wives, are few and far between these days. Many people present heard Boss Shun's words and shot amused glances our way. Shun Siue, in a bespoke white mermaid gown, looked dazzling and turned heads. Mine, look, the child really resembles you, she said. I didn't reply. She continued to coo with the child. And then when you grow up, be as handsome and accomplished as your daddy, okay? Then she gave me a meaningful look. I feigned ignorance. Sherry can't grow up to be like me, a live-in son-in-law who gets unceremoniously kicked out. Imagine how devastated his mother would be, wouldn't she? An unnatural smile flickered across Shun Siue's face. She pulled me over to a seat. Mine, you were so good to me before. I believe you love me. You're being so cold to me now. It's intentional, isn't it? You want to win me back, right? Whatever arrogance Shun Siue once possessed had vanished completely after a failed marriage to Chin Huayu. Shun Siue, you're overthinking things. I didn't come here hoping for a reconciliation. As you said, this is all for the child. I stood up to leave. But Shin Siwoo grabbed my sleeve. Moon, are you still angry with me? I didn't consider trying to build a life with you, but you treated me like an obligation, so cold and distant, almost devoid of emotion. Chin Huayu, with his sweet talk and knack for pleasing women. Anyone else in my shoes would have chosen him too. Shin Siwoo was right, compared to Chin Huayu. He was indeed better at winning a woman's heart. Chin Huayu wasn't bad-looking, was fun-loving, and knew how to charm girls. What young woman doesn't dream of romance? Even Shun Siwoo, who had been doted on her entire life, was no exception. But me? I've always been a man of few words, utterly clueless about the grand romantic gesture she craved. My sole focus was on managing the Shun family business. I believed that by easing her burdens and meticulously tending to her every need, I was loving her, that this would ensure our marriage lasted. But I completely missed the mark. What Shun Siwoo truly yearned for was emotional connection and romance, things I had failed to provide. It was only today that I fully understood. All along, my devotion had been utterly misplaced. What I offered was never what she truly wanted. Once I understood that a sense of peace washed over me, Shun Siwoo spoke in an almost pleading tone. Muin, can't we let bygones be bygones? Let's start over, raising them together. No, what you want, I still can't give you. Leaving the Shun residence, I suddenly felt a weight lift off my shoulders. There was no going back for Shun Siwoo and me. Even with our child connecting us, we were destined to go our separate ways. Over the next year, Shun Siwoo called me relentlessly, but I never answered. Once the pandemic eased, the real estate market plunged into an ice age. The whole economic bubble burst, and the Shun family was a shadow of its former self. The Shuns built their fortune on real estate. Now, their cash flow had dried up, property values nosedived, and everywhere you looked, their properties ceased to cover construction debts. Were up for foreclosure auction. I heard through the grapevine that Shun Siwoo had left the country and was now a dancer in small, independent theaters abroad. Rumor had she become a blacklisted debtor back home with restrictions on luxury, spending, and a horde of creditors after her. Unable to bear the harassment, she fled the country. Wasn't this karma a swift and fitting retribution? It's just that in my previous life, my creditors never gave me a chance to flee abroad to escape my debts. Compared to me, Shun Siwoo was already quite fortunate to be able to hide away overseas. I thought Shun Siwoo and I would never cross paths again, but then I received a text from a new number, hers. Anand had acute myeloid leukemia and needed a hematopoietic stem cell transplant. Shun Siwoo wasn't a match. The poor child was innocent in all this. I booked the next flight to Los Angeles to get tested. Anand lay in a hospital bed, pale and covered in needle marks. He looked so pitiful. When he saw me, his voice was small as he asked Shun Siwoo, "Mommy, is he daddy?" He was my son after all. I couldn't stop the sudden prickling in my nose, my voice trembling as I said, "Enan, Daddy's here." The boy looked at me and burst into tears, unable to stop. I stroked his head, soothing him. "Enan, don't be afraid. Everything will be okay. You'll be home soon." The test results came back. I was a match. I successfully donated my hematopoietic stem cells to Yunan. Shun Siwoo thanked me over and over. "Jong Myeon, thank you, and it means everything to me." I looked at Shun Se barely in her early 30s, yet life had worn her down so much she bore no trace of her former aristocratic grace. It can't be easy surviving in Los Angeles, can it? She avoided my gaze, changing her clothes as she answered dismissively. "I'll leave it in your care then. I have a show tonight, gotta go." Neither Shun Siwoo nor I ever imagined we'd end up on such drastically different paths. My assistant called. "Mr. Jiang, the Shun family's old estate and the house you once shared with Miss Shun, your former marital home, are both up for auction. What are your instructions?" "Buy them," I said. "Have them cleaned. I'll be back in a while. And by the way, leave all the furnishings as they are." In his sleep, Anan murmured softly, "Daddy. Daddy." Shin Swam might have brought some of her suffering on herself, I thought, but Anan, he was just a child. He didn't deserve to be dragged through her turbulent life. Anan's condition had improved, and we could return to our country for treatment. Shin Siwoo packed my bags, preparing to see me off. Jiangmian, she said, I received all the money you sent. I held it in and said nothing. She continued, the building under An's name is still there. If you're willing, you can take him to live with you. To give her credit, Shen Siwei was still a very responsible mother. Even though she wasn't doing well financially, she never thought of abandoning her child. Human nature is truly complex. She could forsake her family for love. Yet when she fell on hard times and needed money, she didn't sell the building in her child's name for a quick fix. A woman is gentle by nature, but a mother is strong. Perhaps I was only now truly understanding this saying, perhaps afraid I wouldn't agree. She then assured me, and we'll have a better life with you. I won't disturb you. I asked her, and what about you? She paused, not comprehending for a moment. What if I take him back with me? What will you do? Keep dancing here. It's fine here. I can. So, I interrupted, come back with me. I bought the Shun family house. You and a nun can live there. It had been nearly 2 years since our divorce. The first time I'd called her Siu, I couldn't quite place the feeling. Perhaps it was because my impression of her had always been one of radiant grace, and I couldn't bear to see her brought so low. Shun Siu, with a nun, did return with me, as she opened the door to the Shun family home. She wept silently, perhaps overcome by the poignant sense that while the place remained, everything else had irrevocably changed. See, if anything's missing, I'll have someone send it over. I'll be there for all of An's follow-up treatments. Shun Siwei had become quiet and reserved, nothing like her former self. I didn't say much more. This was all I could do for her now. The hurts from the past remained. Pitying her couldn't erase them. We wouldn't go back to how we were. That we could maintain this civility now was truly only because of Shun Shuri between us. I was just an ordinary father, hoping my child would have a good life, and by extension, that his mother wouldn't be too unhappy. That was all. In the tides of this era, I had seized my opportunities, setting our startup firmly on the right track. Now that things were stable again, finding new ventures and paths was what I ought to be doing. As for matters of the heart, those were like fleeting clouds. It was best to let nature take its course.